Hey, you talk about the dolls, why don't you? It happened. I knew it. You bring up the doll.
Start talking about it right away, and boom, just like that, right?
Just exactly what happened, ladies and gentlemen. Everything was fine until they brought up the dolls. Ain't that right, Thomas? Standing Stones. Rebecca. How's everybody doing this evening? Crazy Witch.
Good evening.
How's everybody doing, Catherine? So, yes, Facebook user. So, Chris, what we got going on this evening?
Howdy, howdy. Well, I just take another day at a time, and we got a special guest tonight, Marie Dumont, which is part of our Mid Florida Bigfoot research group. But I'm bringing her on tonight because we quite often don't touch on the paranormal and some of the other stuff that we could talk about a little bit more, and she's got a little bit of background on that. So I figured we'd bring her on and pick her brain about that a little bit. And she also is a previous UFO. I don't know if you want to call them chaser or what they're deemed, but she's a kind of a specialist on that too. So Skywatcher, I guess you want to call her. But if you want to bring her on, I don't know if she's backstage or not. Hopefully.
Oh, yeah. Let's bring her on. Marie, come on down. There she is. How you doing?
Hey,
see what happens when you talk about my dolls. Unbelievable.
This is paranormal show too, you know. So
I know,
yeah,
right?
I'm sitting there like,
come on.
I'm like, look, I'm like, what happened? I'm like, gone. I'm like, y'all just disappear. I'm like, here we go. Here we go.
It's still working on your internet out there in the woods.
So yeah, so they are sending new equipment, and I'm like, new equipment. I'm like, what do you mean new equipment? So they're overnight new equipment. I'm like, this is not adding up, ladies and gentlemen. It is not.
Right.
So, but anyways, but I am here. Hello, Liana. Welcome to the show. And like, everybody's like, hello.
Hello.
So
Marie,
flying dolls today. No, they're not flying. They are like doing things that are uncalled for. They're like intervening. We ain't even talk about it. But yes.
Not yet, but we will talk about them a little bit because I want Marie to hear the actual story of the origination and how all that came about. But we'll hold on to that for a little bit. Yeah. So Marie, tell us a little bit about your history. I want to know about your paranormal and your UFO history because we all know you're a Bigfoot lady, right? But a lot of people don't know the backside of what got you that point.
Well, I've been a paranormal investigator for over 30 years. So I started out with ghost hunting, and then I started to notice like similarities with ghost hunting and like looking for UFOs and aliens and stuff like that. Because things like orbs, that's a common thing between both of those and stuff like that. So then I started doing sky watches with friends, and I still do the ghost hunting. I do it all. I do all the paranormal stuff. And so I started to do sky watches with friends just to see what, we could see up there. And I've been fortunate enough to have seen two different types of crafts of UFOs. And I've had some other experiences. And then some of my friends were into Bigfoot. And I was like, I don't know. Let me check this out. And again, similarities between ghost hunting, ghosts, UFOs and aliens, and Bigfoots. Again, orbs, EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, and there are similarities between all three of them, which is what I'm really into. But it all started for me back when I was 25 years old, when my mother died. And she was the absolute love of my life. I mean, I was like, dad was a jerk. So all we had was mom, And so it was very traumatic for me when she died. That was the love of my life, right? And I felt like I could not stop crying I just cried every single night for months. You know, it was just horrible. I felt like I was going to have a freaking nervous breakdown. So one night I was in bed and I'm sleeping facing this way and pitch black, middle of the night, I wake up, but I woke up to something sitting on my bed next to me. I could feel the bed go down, and that woke me up. I was like, what is that? But I didn't turn to see what it was because it was pitch black. I wouldn't be able to see anything anyway. So the bed went down, and then I felt tap on my shoulder. And then I heard my mother's voice. She says, don't worry, everything will be all right. And that's the closure I needed. So I would stop crying. And, but that was the first real paranormal experience that I had was with my mother.
Wow.
And I've had it one other time, years later. It was around the holidays, around Christmas, which I don't like Christmas because my mom's gone, right? So Christmas is no fun anymore. And so I was talking to a friend of mine on the phone. I was sitting on my coffee table and it was cold. I had my leather jacket on in my house. And I was talking to my friend and we were talking about how much we hate Christmas because both sets of our parents are gone and it just sucks and we're lonely, we're orphans, blah, blah, blah. And I felt a hand on my back like that. And I felt it all the way through my leather jacket and everything. And I was like, whoa. I'm like, what is that? And my friend Michelle said, that's probably your mom. And I said, you're absolutely right. She wanted me to know that she was still with me. Even though I'm, you know, complaining about Christmas and being lonely and not having her around, she wanted me to know she was still there. So those are the two first experiences I ever had.
So you became a paranormal investigator after that at some point.
Correct.
Explain that to me. What's that mean to be a paranormal investigator? You just I picture Ghostbusters. You wait for the phone to ring and run out there with your plasma blasters, right?
Yeah, right. It's anything out of the ordinary, right? It's not normal, so it's paranormal. Right. So it could be anything: cryptids, aliens, UFOs, ghosts, Bigfoot. It could be any of those things, any of that kind of phenomena. You know, it's just if it's not normal, then it's paranormal. So basically, to me, that's what it means. So I've been intrigued by it, fascinated by it, and I know it has to do with my mom, you know, because of what I experienced. You always want to know that there's some kind of life after death, or, you know, that you're not really alone, that they are with you. It gives you that comfort, you know, because like I said, that's what I needed in order to for me to stop crying. And so
well, it's good you got that closure. That's definitely a good thing. No doubt about that. So did you work with any kind of organization as far as paranormal? I mean,
well, I used to do it with my best friend Debbie, and she's a psychic medium, and so we would go out on investigations all the time. And she used to live in a incredibly haunted house, not in a bad way. But going to her old house, it was located in Odessa, Florida, and it used to be owned by this guy last name was Levine. He was the owner of the Ybor Brewing Company. And Al Capone used to have a winter house in Odessa, Florida, right down the street from where her old house was. And so he would go there to Levine's house, which is Debbie's house, and they would play poker in the bar. And if you couldn't pay your debt, they shot you in the head and threw you in the lake behind the house. So her house was incredibly haunted. A lot of gangster energy, a lot of gangster spirits there. And going there was like going to Disney World. it was like, yay, I get to go to her house because you never know what's going to happen. Because I've experienced all kinds of stuff at her house, which was just amazing. You know, something playing in my hair, something touching my leg, my straw in my glass is going around the circles. The chairs are turning around by themselves. I mean, there's just stuff's moving by itself. I actually got captured a full body apparition on camera. So at her house. So highly haunted house. So, but I met her. Because I joined a group called the Tampa Ghost Watchers, and Debbie's husband had actually called the Tampa Ghost Watchers and said, "Hey, our house is haunted. Do you want to come out and check it out?" He was never a believer. He was doing it more just to appease her as a joke. So I was assigned as the lead investigator, and I could pick my own team of investigators to go there and check it out. So that's
lead Ghostbuster. All right.
I was a lead Ghostbuster. Went to her house, and her and I, you know, became best friends immediately. And
Cool.
Yeah, that's how you know, ended up working out. And she had so many things. My favorite story, though, at her house, there's two of them, was we were in the kitchen, 1:30 in the morning. Everybody else was upstairs in the bedroom. And her and I were in the kitchen, and we were just talking. Well, the room next to the kitchen was a open area, play area. That's where the kids' toys were kept. And they had probably 100 toys there. And a lot of those toys you had to manually turn on or touch because they were, you know, motion activated, touch sensitive, whatever it was. And so her and I were just talking, and all of a sudden, each one of her toys turned on by themselves, one right after the other. And we were just like, oh my God, can you believe this? And we're just listening to it. We're just watching it. You can see each toy turning on. They start moving. They start talking. They start beeping. And like I said, there was probably at least 20 toys that turned on by themselves, which was pretty phenomenal. Mm-hmm.
I'd bet it's time to go now.
Everybody would have been wet with my holy water. I'd have been like, yeah.
I love that stuff. I just get the biggest kick out of it.
Oh, you love holy water? You'd have been wet too then. So,
and, yeah, what's the other story? Dang it, I can't remember what the other one was. But yeah, I'll think of it.
Wasn't there somebody that visited the house that took on a persona?
Oh, yes. That was one of the team members that I invited, you know, because I was the team leader. So I picked my team, and there was a mother and son. And I guess the son was probably like 19, 20 years old or something. He had gotten in a really bad car accident. And so they gave him some kind of like psychic abilities. He was able to sense stuff, blah, blah, blah. So I thought, okay, you know, I would love to have him on my team to go to Debbie's house, right? And so I go there. We're sitting in the home theater room, which used to be a little ballroom back in the day. And all of a sudden, he starts like talking like he's a gangster. Yo, you know, he's talking all this gangster stuff, you know, and I'm just like looking at him like, oh my God, I'm going to kick his ass because I think he's faking it, right? And I'm like, I apologize to Debbie. I'm like, I am so sorry that I brought this guy. I don't know what's wrong with him because, you know, I think he's joking. You know, he's just playing around. And I even asked his mom, I'm like, what is going on with him? She's like, I have no idea. She's never seen him do this. So he was like channeling a gangster named Riff, is what he said. He said his name was Riff. But years later, we found out some of the history about the house, and there was a gangster named, I think his name was Raff, or something. It was very close to Riff, but he was talking like with a New York accent or a New Jersey accent. So it was like, oh my God, he was actually channeling. This kid was really doing it. It's the first time he's ever channeled before, and it was at her house. And he channeled twice. He channeled 2 different people same night. He channeled this woman. And so now he's talking like a woman, right? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to kill this guy. And again, I'm apologizing. And she's like, whoa, wait a minute. She goes, listen to what he's saying. So he was talking like a girl, but he was saying particular phrases and stuff. And she says, that's one of my old girlfriends that died years ago. She used to say those exact same things. So he was really channeling 2 different spirits at her house. So pretty interesting. I wanted to kill him. I was so embarrassed, but
Wow.
he was legit. He was being legit. And he's never done that before. So pretty fascinating.
That's insane. That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the scariest thing you've ever experienced? Actually, anything has actually scared you? I know she's a tough one.
Yeah.
Most people wouldn't know.
I can
She's
tell.
about this big, and she used to play hockey, and they called her Thug. So
Yes.
there's some back history there from Marie.
Yes.
She's a tough one, so she don't get scared of much. But what's the one thing that just, is there anything that's ever just made you say, oh crap?
Probably, but I can't think of what it is.
Because you probably enjoy your thrill so much afterwards, no doubt.
Your first reaction is like, shock, or you're like, oh my God. And then you're like, oh, wow, that was really cool. Okay, so all right, I just thought of what initially scared me to begin with. Years ago, maybe 10 years ago, I went to this little town in Illinois called Bartonville. And Bartonville used to have a sane asylum there. And so they closed down this huge 1, 2, 3. There was a basement and 2 or 3 stories, 3 floors, I think. But they were holding ghost tours there. It's like, sweet, yes, an insane asylum, fun. And
no, thank you.
It was only $20. And I'm like, oh,
you couldn't give it to me for free. I wouldn't go to that, but that's all right.
This is so worth it. I've got to go to this.
Oh, goodness.
So I go, and they were the tour guides was a paranormal group, and they were doing these tours. They take you around, they give you equipment and stuff, where they had like the spirit box, they had EMF meters, all that good stuff. And so, we go into the lobotomy, where they used to do lobotomies. Nothing really happened there. But we went up to the 3rd level.
That's because they're all happy now.
Yeah, right. So we go up to the 3rd level, and one of the girls is telling us a story about this guy who hung himself on the stairs. And the stairway, he at the top of the rail, he hung himself and killed himself.
Right.
And I was bored. I was like, okay, this is boring. Can we move on to something a little more interesting, So I just had a good feeling about something. I said, what's at the end of the hall? What's at the end of the hall? And they said, oh, George is in there. I'm like, who's George? And they're like, he's not nice. I'm like, come on, we got to go to George. I want to go see George. So we all go to the end of the hall, and they got their spirit box going. And first question I asked was, is there anybody here with us? Can you tell us your name? George. Black, loud, clear, no trying to figure out what he said. It was crystal clear, loud. George. And I'm like, and she's like, oh, he's here. And I'm like, yay, okay. So then I start asking some questions. I'm like, okay, George, you can use my energy. Why don't you touch me? Why don't you do something? Let me know you're here. Okay, now, Chris, this is what I felt. Okay, I'm going to demonstrate. Let me move the camera here. I'm going to demonstrate what I felt. Oh, here we go with the holy water. This is what I felt.
Your screen.
Are you ready for this? This is what I felt. A hand going all through my hair. And I was cringing. But guess what? My hair wasn't moving at all. But I felt this hand going hard all the way through my hair. And I'm like, oh my God. And I was like, oh, that was awesome. I know the ghost George is coming. Damn it.
No.
I was trying to scare her.
No.
I'd already be in the car and leaving.
That was
time to go.
One of my favorite, unbelievable, ghostly moments that I've ever had. It was spectacular. But it felt like that, but it did not move my hair at all. So
the talented ghost.
Really weird, But I know the ghost, he was doing it to really freak me out. He was trying to scare me. No. I was like, yes, thank you, George. And then went down in the basement, and they gave us these flashlights. I had one of those like big outdoor flashlights with the handle on top, the big brown ones with the big handle. So I just had up my hand and then my arm swinging because I'm kind of walking. There's some bats flying around in the basement. And I'm walking along with somebody, and something hits my arm with the flashlight. My arm moved about 3 feet. I was like, whoa, what is that? Well, the basement used to be where the kids used to be, because like the mothers who are in the insane asylum, they would bring their children. They would have to have their children there, so they kept the children in the basement. So the patients, the female patients, could go down and still be hang with their kids. So I guess there's children's spirits in the basement. And, while the adults, the other ones were on the, floors 1, 2, 3. So that was probably, it was creepy, Chris, not necessarily scary, but it was the creepiest thing that I've ever experienced, for sure. Mm-hmm.
That sounds creepy.
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't do it. No way. You couldn't pay me to do that.
Oh, it was so much fun. UFO question. I can't read it.
Yeah. Standing Stones had a question. He says, I have a UFO question for Marie. Did she get to Gulf Breeze, Florida when those sightings were going on?
No, I wish. I wish. I was asking a friend of mine the other day. I don't think there's been many sightings there anymore. Maybe you don't hear about them anymore.
Is that something that used to, I'm not even familiar with that. Is that something that was a thing at one time?
Yes. Because Gulf Breeze or whatever is right at the pan, like when you take the curve around Florida.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Lake City and all that area.
The Gulf of Mexico up north, like around where the curves and everything, is deeper than the Grand Canyon. It is incredibly deep there. So people have always speculated that there's probably a base there, like a UFO base, alien base or something under there, because they were seen coming out of the water at Gulf Breeze and flying off. That's what they were experiencing there. So, no, I never got to see that. I wish I could have, but I don't really know if there's been any recent sightings. There was a whole flap of them, meaning of, many stories, many encounters, people witnessing this stuff. But I don't know of any recent things going on there.
I've heard of some other ones around the coast that in the Gulf Coast where they come out of the water.
Yeah, and that would be why, because the water is incredibly deep there. So anything could be under there if you're going down over 5,000, whatever feet. And it's like it's like straight down. It's very, very, very deep up in that part of the Gulf of Mexico. So.
Well, the energy of UFOs, we wonder. I mean, obviously they would be anti-gravity, but what else? I mean, can they? Yes. We look at Skinwalker Ranch, and they hear stories of it just going straight into the mesa.
Yep.
I mean, it's a solid ground, so it would be nothing to go straight into the water, straight in below the water, below the soil that's below the water.
Oh yeah, the USOs.
Wouldn't be surprising.
The unidentified submersible objects, or whatever they're called. Because they can just fly in the sky, they can just go through the water, no issue. I personally think that they're able to change their molecular structure in order to just go through things. I had a friend of mine years ago tell me about his abduction story. Him and his brother, when they were kids, probably around 8-10 years old or something like that, they lived in Puerto Rico. And so the windows on their house had those jalousie windows where you have the glass panes, you have to use the crank to open them up. They're like lever windows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the crank turns.
Yeah. And when they were abducted, they were pulled through the glass. So him and his brother, without breaking the glass or anything, they were just pulled through it. So I think that's just my opinion, is that they're able to change their molecular structure and they can go anywhere. They can do anything without really, being affected by water, by being affected by the glass or whatever. That's just what I think about it.
It's possible.
So,
I think Grizzly's dolls abduct him every night.
I was.
Stop my damn dolls!
Come on, dolls, do something for me.
Oh man!
So I had a special request for Grizz to tell the story of how the dolls originated, because I just found out the other night exactly why. I'm not sure if everybody has, but Marie has not yet. I
will tell you after I show you all this picture I got off yesterday's show, and this is from a reputable person in the cryptid community. And believe it or not, this is a true story. And this is an actual track, 52 inches long, from Colorado in the mountains. What happened was, and this is how the story goes, it's a faith-going family. And the guy was at work and his wife called. And she was panicking hysterically. She looked out. She lives in the mountains. And she said that there is something towering the trees in the yard. And the husband's like, do what? She's like, you better get home. But she was not calm. And her husband's like, whatever. And she threw a bloody fit. And he was like, do what? And she said a whole bunch of stuff, and she does not use any language, whatever. Making a long story short, he rushed home, and she's like, you got to go over there and check this out. And it was taller than the trees, and the trees they measured were approximately 30 feet tall. So the guy went over there, the husband, and then saw these tracks, and he was like, there is no way this is possible. This is just insane. So he calls this guy that everybody knows in the Bigfoot community, and he comes over, and he was like, you got to be joking. There's no way. And so he finds one that he can cast. And I forgot how many people it took to get this out of the ground, but the others disappear. And this reminds me of the Troll movie. Y'all seen that Troll movie that's out the past year? Y'all haven't seen that Troll movie, really? Oh man, y'all got to watch that Troll movie.
I don't watch too many movies, unfortunately.
But anyways, I just had to share that. So, but that was on Shake, Rattle, and Roll, The Bones with Val, and it was very interesting. So that was like, yeah, I couldn't believe it. And so it actually come from a reliable source. So we was in Madison, Indiana, and we was antique shopping, and I was with my parents, and I was walking in the store, and I was just walking along, humbling, you know, and I was looking around.
Excuse me. Hello, sir.
And I was like, well, that's a kid. So I turned around, and there's nobody behind me because the aisles were small. And I was like, oh, that must have been a kid in another aisle or something. So I turn around and look, and there's these 4 dolls sitting on a shelf. I'm like, well, this be good for a paranormal show that's
I should
coming
have told
up.
you something right there, Grizz. I should have told you all you needed to know.
I'm like, this is gonna be fun. I'm like, ma'am, I'm like, hey, I like to buy
This
2
will
of
be
these
fun.
dolls. And
What
she's
could
like,
possibly happen?
yeah, she's like, you got to buy 4, all 4. I'm like, no, I want 2. She said 4. I'm like, 2, 4. She said 2. I said, no. I said, no. You said 2? I said, no. I said, I want 2. She said, no, 4. I said, I only need 2 of them. She said, you got to buy 4. That you have to buy them in a lot. And I'm like, well, make me a good deal. Maybe I'll buy them all 4. I said, I only want 2. So I was like, whatever. She made me a good deal. So I bought all 4 on the way out. There was one. It was in a glass case. Number one mistake, glass case. It was an old topsy-turvy doll. And I'm not even going to touch it. Caucasian, handmade. You flip it upside down, African-American doll. And I was like, ooh, it's old and it's handmade.
Wow.
So, yeah, I'm like, I want that one too. And she was like, you really want that one? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, this is going to be good. So
this is gonna be good.
Yeah, so I'm like going, you know, I'm buying them, you know, and my parents are like, we got to do with these dolls. I'm like, I'm gonna go home. I'm like, these 4 dolls, I'm gonna put makeup on them and like kind of like screw them up a little bit, you know. And I'm like, each show we're gonna name a doll, guys, and we're gonna name and we're gonna play with them, right? And so the first show, I get one out. I'm like, all right, look what we got. I didn't put no makeup on it, and stuff started happening. Stuff starts getting knocked around, cell phones start flying and knocking over. I didn't think too much of it. I was like, man, something ain't right. So the second show, stuff would start flying and getting knocked over on the studio. And my backdrops were flying and knocked down. My curtains were flapping. And I was starting to freaking out. So during that next week, I was interviewing this guy on the show, and I didn't know he was a psychic, and he was in training. And we were talking. He was like, "You have dolls," and I'm like, "Huh?" I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You have dolls," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "You punking me?"
Maybe.
And I'm like, I was like, oh man, you watching one of my shows, aren't you? And I'm like, all right. I say, all right, I'm gonna see where he's gonna go with this, right? So I'm saying, all right, yeah. I said, I've got some. And I was like, so what are you trying to tell me? And he gets real quiet and he turns his head, and I'm like, oh, this guy's got autism or something. He's got a disability, and I'm starting to pick this up. And then all of a sudden, at the bottom of the screen, I'm seeing a comment from this world-renowned psychic from Greece saying, "Good job. You're doing a good job." And I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, "Wait a minute. You know him and he knows her?" I'm like, "Oh no." So this is the Jedi and this is the master. I'm like, "Oh my God, now you got my attention." So I'm like, "Uh-oh." I'm like, now I was like, okay, now I'm listening now. So I'm like, now I know this guy's not punking me out. And I'm like, so describe me a doll, would you? You know, and when he's like, well, he says, you have something going on in your studio. I'm like, yeah, I do. And he starts describing the poltergeist activity. And I'm like, okay, well, he's probably seen one of my shows. So I kind of like blowing that off.
Right.
And he was like, one of these dolls. And I'm like, okay, I'm blowing that off. I'm like, describe this doll. And this one doll I did not show. And I was like, all right, tell me the clothing it's wearing. So he turns his head and closes his eyes. And I'm kind of like looking up. And he starts telling me the clothing. And I'm like, whoa. And I'm thinking back. I'm like, da, 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 da. I was like, no, this doll never did show. And I was like, how many of these dolls do you see or something? And or something along those lines. And he kept having problems. And he was like, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. And he couldn't make up his mind. And I was like, oh. And I was like, you know why you're having problems? And he goes, no, I don't. And I was like,
Because of the tipsy turvy doll.
no, they're twins.
Ah.
They're two dolls, but they're twins.
Okay.
And one of them is evil over the other. One's got more power. So what he told me is that the lady that owned the 4 dolls this is the exact words. She is a lady with a child's mind. And she's very upset because these are her prized possession dolls, and I disrespected them. And she's upset, and she's taking them out on me. And she wants me to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and that I need to show them respect because these mean a lot to her. And I'm sitting there freaking out. And I'm like, are you serious? You know, I'm like, and he's like, yes, and you need to do this, and things will change. And I'm like, okay, you got my attention. So I did this. And every morning I would wake up, good morning. And he told me her name was Jackie. Good morning, Jackie. How are you doing? You know, and stuff stopped. And she's a trickster and all this other stuff. And now she would mess around with stuff. And she would throw stuff and hit me with cat balls and cell phones. So I had to go out and buy extra grippy tape to tape things down in the studio so she can't throw things at me while I'm doing my live shows, because I would put the cat balls and stuff on my cell phone stands and put cameras on them, and I'll be talking. Next thing you know, a cat ball will come off and hit me in the head or hit me, and you'll see it live, and everybody will be like, did you see that? I'm like, no, I felt that. Yes,
That's
I saw that
awesome.
and felt that. That's not awesome.
Yes,
I mean, it
it
scared the
is.
hell out of me. So I would tape them down. So we would do videos, and I would tape like EMF detectors to them, you know. And one video, she did not like the EMF detector on the doll, and you heard the tape being ripped, like, and I was like, oh my God, did you do it? And I'm like, I got that on video. Did you hear that? Did you see that? You know, and everybody's like, oh my God, yes, we did hear that and see that. And so, yes. And so then I would buy, and I would scroll, and I would start buying these estate dolls. And for some reason, I would scroll and be like, no. Oh, for some reason, I got a feeling I need to buy these dolls. So that's how I start buying. I don't know how many dolls I got now, probably like 20 something, 26, 28 dolls.
What
Evidently, they
possessed
don't
you
get
to buy
along.
more dolls after all that going on? What possessed you to make
Right.
that decision?
Right.
Well, I was
I need
told
more of
that
these.
I didn't ask permission from Jackie, and I was told that when I first bought the dolls, that I didn't cleanse them before I left the antique store. That whatever's with these dolls, do not follow me home. They have to stay and do my cleansing there at the antique store. So now I got people. It's not funny, but it is in a way. I got people around the country and over in UK going around with EMF detectors and all these gadgets and ghost balls to these antique stores trying to find haunted items, and people are freaking out because they don't know what they're doing, and they're getting kicked out of these antique stores now. Because they're like, "What are you doing?" They're like, "Nothing." They're like,
Yeah.
"Well, what's that
Nothing.
thing in your hand?" Right? They're
Nothing.
like, and they're
Nothing.
like, it's lighting up. And they're like, "Is that radioactive?" No, it's just the EMF detector. Well, it is an
Radioactive.
EMF detector, right? Is that a Geiger counter? No. Then why is it going off to the red? So then we started a show with FDL Paranormal about haunted vessels and stuff like that, and we're trying to figure out how these things work. So we have, a lot of activity with some of their things that they bought at antique stores. So I'm doing different dolls with cat balls and spirit boxes and so forth, and I'm getting good results. But with my dolls, we're trying to figure out, is it Jackie or is it the different dolls with different attachments? I don't know, because I never had this experience before.
Right.
So now what I'm doing is I'm trying to use the psychics for the crime shows. And because some of the dolls, I show the psychics and their faces like melt off. They're like, ah! They're like, why did you buy that? That is evil. And I'm like, what the hell am I supposed to do? Hey, Kelly Joe, does this look good? They're like, yes, you need to call us before you buy something. I'm like, well, I didn't know that. I'm not supposed to call you up and like walk around an antique shop. I'm like, hey, is this okay? And everybody that collects antiques are like, yeah, we do. We take holy water, we cleanse things and say our prayers before we take it home and all. Well, I didn't know. I didn't think about stuff like that. They're like, why do you think we don't buy used furniture, especially recliners? Because grumpy old men. I'm like, well, I know that now. Nobody, it's not like somebody gave me a book, said, here, Grizzly, this is what you can and cannot do or should not do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now everybody's got fascination. Now we got all these shows across the world now with haunted items and dolls now everybody's starting to do. And now there's people selling haunted dolls, and for $150 you get this doll with 4 pages of, for 1957 this 18-year-old got killed from a drunk. I'm like, is this really true? So I don't know.
Now it's a gimmick that you started. It's all your fault.
Yeah,
right.
There's always hoaxers out there. So of course, hey, they're going to give you. I got one in my garage that you'd probably think is haunted or something. It's in a glass case, but I can sit there and say it's haunted, la 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 la, and people would buy it. So
make up a scary story to go along with it.
Make up a scary story.
Probably would. Mm-hmm. My thing is watch my shows and you'll see stuff that happens I cannot explain. Remember that one night, Chris? We were talking.
I want you to put out the dolls now, but you won't. So
yeah. So I'm gonna do another.
He don't pull them out except for he was unboxing them that one day. I remember that was one of the one that got ripped out of your hands. You were actually unboxing some, taking them out of the shipment. But yeah, he doesn't play with them on the air. They just kind of dive at them.
FDL Paranormal were like, they were doing their spirit box talker app thing. And they're like, let's see where the dolls come from. And I'm like, oh, don't be doing that, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, that's awful, man. We'll have it, because they're from UK. And I'm like, man, that'd be awful. It says United States, and they come up Virginia, and everybody in the audience was like, I'm from Virginia, and like Virginia. And I was like, oh man, that's not good. And they're like, Grizzly, wouldn't that be funny, mate, if your dolls came from Virginia? And I'm like, what? I'm like, I got the box right here. Hold on. And I went down and I looked, and I'm like, you're all not going to believe this. So I took my knife and I cut the lid off. they held the lid up. I got so excited and so scared, I cut the wrong lid off. So I went back, cut the other lid off, I held it up. All the dolls came from Virginia. And I noticed that all the dolls I purchased came in lots of 4. And somebody's like, that means death. And I'm like, what? I'm like, no, it don't.
No,
So we Googled it, and I think it was Japan or Chinese or one of those. 4 in that language or whatever means death. And I was like, that's even better. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Time to return those.
My first time I ever went to New Orleans, long time ago. And I was in the French Quarter, you know, and there, I don't know if there still is, but there used to be a little outdoor flea market. So I was like, oh, let's go check this out. You know, I'm walking around and there's a, you know, a guy, Cajun guy selling used voodoo dolls. And I'm like,
oh, wow.
Oh my
Used
God.
ones?
They were awesome. And I'm like, oh, I want one so badly. I want to buy this one. But I'm like, what am I thinking? Am I retarded? Who in their right mind, besides me, would want to buy a used voodoo doll? No, I didn't end up buying it, but I really wanted it. But I was like,
well, you know the history of what the voodoo dolls are for, though, right? They're actually for healing. They were to, as they were putting pins and stuff, is actually to create healing for somebody, not actually hurting them. So
yeah,
the whole thing's been kind of topsy turvied around.
Yeah, it's how you want to use it.
Oh, you would say topsy turvy. Thanks.
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate that.
But
it's top of the head.
You know, it's however, whatever you want it to be. You know, if you want it to have healing powers or if you want it to do evil, you know, you can do it. Could, whatever your intention is, you can make it do that, you know. So,
oh, yeah, I'm sure.
But you don't know. This old Cajun guy, who knows what the hell this voodoo doll was used for. I was not about to find out. I didn't want it. And I was like, nope, bad idea. Not doing it. So
now some of the ghost tours there are awesome. I love New Orleans ghost tours. Those are pretty cool.
Savannah's better though.
I like the graveyards in the New Orleans because they're all above ground. Those are creepy as hell.
Yeah. So the last time I was in New Orleans, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had a game there, and I went with my ex-boyfriend at the time. So I was really hot and heavy about going to Marie Laveau's tomb, which is in Cemetery 1, St. Louis Cemetery number 1. I think it's 1. And but I was like, I gotta go. I want to go. I gotta go. I don't know why I was really obsessed with wanting to go to her tomb, to go see it, right? So, you know, my friend did not want to go, so I went by myself and I did a tour. That's the only way you can get in the cemeteries there, is you have to pay for a tour. And so we go in there. We're at Marie Laveau's tomb, right? And there's another tour guide standing next to me. And she says, oh, today's Marie Laveau's birthday. And I'm like, I just look at her and I'm like, are you kidding me? Because now I know why I was compelled, obsessed with going to Marie Laveau's tomb.
Wow.
It was her birthday. And one of the things that they claim happens out there is you'll see a black cat walk around, and they say that's Marie Laveau's spirit. And we did see a black cat walking around her tomb. So, you
captured it and you brought it home.
Yeah, right. That's not him. That's not
the
same one. That's not the same one. But yeah, so now I know why I was obsessed with going to Marie Laveau's tomb, was because I was supposed to be there for her birthday. And
wow.
That's exactly what happened.
Very interesting.
Hold on a second. I had something.
Thomas, she actually has a black cat. Yes.
Yes, we do.
We
Yeah.
heard him earlier. He was meow.
Yes, I got a
So
crazy, very needy black cat. Yeah, there was some other stuff I was going to tell you about. Go ahead and talk, and
All
I'll
right.
trigger something.
So UFO stuff. I mean, what's your best experiences or coolest things that you said you've seen two different crafts and two
Two
different
different
times.
craft.
Can you tell us about those?
Two different craft, two different times, but the same location. I was at my friend Kim's house probably 7 years ago, and we would do sky watches. You know, whenever I went over there, we would all Kim and her husband. She had a screened-in pool area, so we had the gravity chairs lined up right next to each other, one right the other, and our chairs are facing east. And but we would sit out there and just watch the sky, just see what you find, what you see. So one time we were out there, and to the left, right in front of the trees, I would say maybe 30 feet off the ground, 25 feet off the ground, this orb appeared. It was golden orange color. It just appeared and it flashed 3 times. 1, 2, 3. It immediately went front and center, right in front of us, probably 10 feet off the ground. And it flashed twice, 1, 2, and then it disappeared. And we were just like, oh my God, what was that? Where did it go? Because it was on our left, and then it was in front of us. So we turned to the right to see if it was going to appear on the right. And when it came through on the right-hand side, it looked like it skidded to a stop, because there was like a line of what looked like sparks or flames right behind it. And it just came in with these sparks or flames or whatever it was behind it, stopped, flashed once, disappeared. This whole thing happened within 3 seconds. It just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, gone. Over here, once, gone. So he was actually counting us. There was 3 of us. 3, 2, 1. And it was unbelievable. It was an orb of light, but it did not give off light, if that makes any sense. It's not like
It didn't project light. Like, was it glowing?
Right. Didn't project any kind of light whatsoever, but it was light itself. And
How big do you think it was, if you had to guess?
Measurement wise, maybe
Basketball, size of a Volkswagen? I mean, what do you think?
no. Maybe like a street light.
Okay. So maybe a basketball, somewhere in that area.
And but it was golden orange color. And we were just like, oh my God, are you kidding me? This is the most amazing UFO experience we've ever had. But it counted us 3, 2, 1, which was pretty darn amazing. And then
Sounds like
maybe a year later, again, we're doing sky watches. I'm at her house again, and we're getting set up. I'm sitting in the chair. I'm getting adjusted in my chair, and her husband is next to me in his chair. Now, he's got extremely good eyesight. He could see, he could see everything. He could see the wings of a mosquito, okay? His eyesight is just spectacular. So I'm looking up, and I see a V-shaped thing flying over the house, right over the house. I mean, maybe 100 feet above the house. That's it. And it was V-shaped. It had little tiny white dots of light. Again, did not give off light. They were just like glowing little white balls on them. And I was like, oh my God, what is that? Look at that. What is that? And he's like, what? I can't see anything. And I'm like, how do you not see that? You could see everything. How do you not see this? And found out afterwards that they've seen that same craft about 5 years prior. And, some people believe that some people are meant to see certain things. And it was my turn to see that same craft that they had seen 5 years prior. And Kim even drew it 5 years ago. She drew what it looked like, and it was exactly what I saw. Now, when I saw it, though, I was doubting myself because he couldn't see it, right? And I'm like, okay, is this like a formation of birds flying in the middle of the night? Because birds migrating to, South Florida or whatever. And I just kept doubting myself. I was like, God, did I really see how did he not see this thing? And so I waited about a week, and I decided to go on the MUFON database just to see what's been reported lately, And sure enough, somebody reported in West Palm Beach seeing the exact same thing I did 2 minutes later than when I saw it. So it had flown over her house, cut across the state towards West Palm Beach. And there was a couple sitting out, and they reported seeing the exact same thing I did. So I was like, oh, thank God, I'm not crazy. It was a UFO. So it's a chevron. So it's kind of like the Phoenix Lights. It's that kind of
Wow.
Looked just like that. And it was flying extremely low. Like I said, maybe 100 feet. Right over her house. Totally silent. But with the lights, you could also see the shape of the craft, which was blacker than the sky itself. So that's
cool.
That's my 2 UFO sightings.
Now you mentioned something about not, or you're meant to see it. And Grizzly, you posted something the other day I thought was pretty cool, and it shows the what's visible and the spectrum of light to the human eye, and there's just so much more that we can't see. But I think at times maybe some people can see more than others, or for whatever reason that is.
I had a physicist come on one of the shows, and he was describing the spectrums of human sight, and some people can actually see better certain wavelengths than other people. And he has a friend that can see certain radio wavelengths, and he's actually developed patents, and he went into great details about infrasound, such as alleged Bigfoot and cryptids, and also what do you call it? Vibrations, and 11 dimensions and the M theory, and he's a PhD, and he went into very great detail, and basically he put it this way: we know that certain animals can see things that we cannot see in different spectrums. And he was like, look, there's approximately 230 million different galaxies that we know of, right? And if we think that we're the only creatures out here, then we're all foolish human beings.
Right.
But if we bring another species to Earth that sees in a different wavelength than us, they can't see us, we can't see them. And then we talked about portals, right? About how, and he's not into cryptids, but he was just saying how tracks start and end, or begin and end out of nowhere. And he was talking about the string theory and the portal theory and the different dimensions, and it all just made sense. And he was like, people need to wake up, because, things are not 3-dimensional, ladies and gentlemen. And it's proven it's not 3-dimensional. So, yeah, Chris, you're right. And it's very interesting that, people can actually see things, and people say it was meant for me. It was
Mhm.
my time. So I don't know. You know,
Yeah.
maybe that is. So
Especially in the UFO
Yeah.
community, that's what a lot of people seem to believe is that when they want you to see them, they'll show themselves for sure. So, and
Right.
but they also say that even about Bigfoot too. You know, some
Mhm.
people believe that they're interdimensional and they show up when whatever. But
Right.
it's
It might be that, or they might be cloaking. They might be both. Who knows? Something along that line. Something's weird about them, though, right?
Yeah.
right, but especially in the
Definitely.
UFO community, you may have people have been abducted, or maybe they've got implants and things like that. One of my friends has some implant. A couple friends of mine have implants, and they get strange visitations by aliens all the time. So it's pretty fascinating stuff.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's good. It's fun. I'm crazy.
We're all a little bit crazy, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes a little bit a
Yeah.
lot.
I know whatever direction she walks towards, I'll be running the opposite direction. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
She's a brave one. We laugh because at nighttime she'll be out there by herself in her little green light in the pitch black in the middle of the woods, and it's like, what is wrong with her?
I know, right?
She's not scared of anything.
Yeah, well, if a Bigfoot walks out in front of me, I'm sure I'll freeze up. That's my normal reaction. I'll just be like, oh my God. Everybody else will be
Yeah,
running
you're
straight.
gonna be like, why didn't I get my camera out?
I know, right? Yeah.
Everybody wonders, like, why can't you get a good picture of Bigfoot? Because by the time you even realize it, it's already over, and you forgot you forgot to get the camera. You forgot to even think. You're just like,
And you got the shock factor going on.
Yeah,
You're just
yeah.
like stunned. You're like, oh my God, what just happened here? And then you've already missed everything. You can't even think straight.
it even
And,
happens to us with vocalizations. I mean, let alone, I
Mhm.
mean, to see one, it's just
right, exactly. What I was going to say, I remembered the other story about Debbie's house that I wanted to tell you. It involved a guitar, and so one night she was given a guitar, and it was in the dining room. I think it was leaning up against the wall. So one night her husband was woken up by the sound of someone playing a guitar in the middle of the night. And he's like, those dang kids. He goes downstairs. The guitar is there, leaning up against the wall, but the strings are up against the wall. So
it moved.
how is the guitar playing?
Yeah, that too.
If the guitar is facing the wall. Everybody was asleep. He checked the kids. Nobody was out, but something was playing the guitar. And I think they used to have an old piano too, and it used to play stuff like that before. One of my other favorite stories. Hold on, let me look. Oh, Savannah. So there was a old mansion kind of place. It was just one of the creepiest places in Savannah to go visit. Of course, every time I used to go to Savannah, Debbie and I, we got to go to this place. It was on Oglethorpe, 12 West Oglethorpe was the address. And so what you would do, I mean, it was all boarded up. Nobody's lived there
Nope,
a
not
long
going there.
time and stuff. So the tour guides would take you there, and you'd have to step up on the little step right at the door, and you're supposed to like knock 3 times and look in, and sometimes you'll see a spirit, right? So I have a friend in Savannah. He's what everybody calls a ghost magnet. He definitely attracts ghosts. So one time he brought some friends of his to 12 West Oglethorpe to do the stand up on the step, just to freak them out, just for fun, right? So I think it was a black lady. And she goes up, takes a step, she knocks on the window, and she looks in. Something comes flying at her, some creature thing, and it breaks the glass from the inside and goes all over the place on the outside.
They didn't like her too much, huh?
Well, I guess somebody called the police department. And the police department comes out,
Wow.
and they were going to arrest my friend because they thought he broke the glass. And he's like, look, the glass is all on the outside. If he would have broken the glass would be on the inside of the place, not outside. And some of the edges of the glass were melted from whatever blast, what spirit blasted through the glass that actually melted the edges of the glass.
She won't do that again, will she?
Yeah. So he was warned never to go there again. Well, of course, whenever we're in town, we go there, right, with him. And so he takes us in the car, and we're kind of like pulling up to 12 West Oglethorpe, and I'm looking at the door, and I'm like, is that door opening? And they're like, my friends are like, yeah, you're right. And I'm like, holy shit. The door is normally padlocked shut. For some reason, the door was opening by itself when we pulled up. Nope. And it was like, oh my God. My friend is like, I'm not going to the door. I don't want to get arrested again. You know, we're like, come on, let's go. So me and my friends, we go up there, and we're like peeking in the door. There's no trespassing signs everywhere. So we kind of push the door open, and we just step in about 3-4 feet, take a bunch of pictures, and then we leave because we're like, you know, we didn't want to get arrested. Even though we didn't do anything, the door was opening by itself. But it's normally
You're being invited in.
Huh?
You're being invited in.
Yeah, something was inviting us in, and we went in there real quick, just took a bunch of pictures and walked out. Well, now they've renovated the place, and they've converted it to a restaurant.
Ooh.
But those are good times.
Nothing on the pictures by any chance, or no?
No. No. But we were kind of scared, but we were more scared about the police pulling up and arresting us. But we had nothing to do with why the door opened.
Yeah, that's weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Love Savannah. Very haunted place.
Yeah, I've heard some stories about that. A lot of plantations there too.
Yes, and Bonaventure Cemetery is gorgeous. It's very gothic. It's just nice and creepy looking. And I remember going with Debbie and my friends there, and they would use the restroom in one of the buildings there, and they'll be in the bathroom, and the sink turns on by itself, the hand dryer turns on by himself, and you can hear them screaming, ah, because all this stuff was happening when they were trying to use the bathroom. Just stuff automatically turned on.
Just motion stuff, that's all.
Yeah.
But it's not supposed to go off. It's
no, you have to like press the button to turn the hand dryer on, and you have to actually turn the knob to turn the water on.
Yeah, that's definitely creepier.
Yeah, so the water's turning on, and the blow dryer, the hand dryer, is turning on by itself. But lots of creepy, cool stuff in Savannah. It's my favorite place. Nice. So Brooksville Museum's another good place. Brooksville, Florida. There's the May Stringer House in Brooksville. Very haunted. And they have all kinds of antiques, Grizzly.
No, I'm good.
People donate. Their old items, furniture, dolls, clothing, whatever. And I've had a lot of experiences there. The house used to be owned by Dr. Stringer, was one of the owners. And so one of the rooms was set up like his office was, with the old equipment and stuff. And a lot of people say that the attic is haunted with, what do they call him? Mr. Evil or something like that. That never bothered me. But we were in the attic, and so we're just sitting on the couch in the dark in the attic, just talking. And so I said, Dr. Stringer, and I used to have tennis elbow. I still have it. It just never goes away, but it's always just numbing and it makes my arm painful and stuff like that. And so I told Dr. Stringer, I said, can you check me out? I said, because my arm hurts. And do you know that I felt him touch my arm exactly where my tennis elbow was? My issue is. It was like he was doing like this, like checking it out. I could feel it.
Oh, hell to the no,
And I
no,
was like,
no,
oh
no,
my
no.
God, that is amazing, because I didn't say what my ailment was. I didn't say anything. But he touched exactly where my problem was on my arm.
No, thank you.
We've had a bunch of experiences there. So that's a fun place to go to too. So
Nice.
mhm.
What about tell us about the experience you had, a little bit of a paranormal picture that we I don't know, I have to see if I can dig out the picture at all. You were out in the woods kind of doing a night investigation for Bigfoot purposes. I wasn't part of the team at the time, but there were some other group members out there with you and Ruby. And tell us about that little situation.
Yeah. So yeah, this was a strange place. This one particular spot in the green swamp. My Bigfoot team at the time, we always had strange things go on in this one particular spot. And like one time we were out there daytime. We were in that spot, but we were just like walking around in different directions, just surveying the area, looking for prints and stuff like that, like we do, when we're doing our Bigfoot research. And Wynette was in the middle of us. She was in this one particular spot by it, not too far away from a fence post. And all of a sudden, we hear 2 claps that loud. And it was right next to her. And she's like, what was that? And we all turned and we're like, did you hear that? And we're like, yes. Did you do that? No. Did you do that? No. And she said it came from right next to me, but it sounded like it came from the ground. But it was that loud. It was 2 clapping sounds. And then, so we went out there to do a night investigation. So me and my team, we all brought chairs. We went to that creepy spot. We set our chairs up, looking in different directions. And we all had night vision cameras or thermal cameras, each of us. So we're just watching, what's going on around us, blah, 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 blah. And I start talking, and I'm like, if there's anybody here with us, come see us, come join us, if there's somebody here, come on, I'd love to see you. Because I also had the cat balls, Grizzly. I had 3 of them on the ground lined up. Because I wanted to see if we get any reaction, because there is weird stuff in this one spot. And so the lights went off one time, I think. And at the time, we didn't think anything really happened, But later on, when one of their team members looked at the video of his night vision video. First of all, something was thrown at us, and it came flying right across the screen, and you could hear it hit one of our backpacks and hear it hit the ground. And it was about probably 4 inches long, and it just flew across the screen. You hear it thunk, thunk. And we're like, whoa, where did this come from? Because remember, each of us has thermal cameras and night vision cameras. We didn't see anything. So how close did something have to be to us to throw a 4-inch long stick at us? It had to be pretty close. That's hard to throw a little tiny stick a great distance, right? And then on the night vision, they captured someone standing behind me. And it kind of looked like a young Civil War.
I've got the picture pulled up here. Let me
You
bring
have
up
the
the screen.
picture? Okay.
Yep.
All right, good. You could show it.
All right, go ahead, Grizz. So this is Marie, and this is the image of somebody captured behind her. That wasn't there.
Yeah, there's even a better photo of
That's
it.
the only one I've got right now. So, but this was part of a video. This is like a
Video.
screenshot of it.
Yeah, there's a
But-
better picture of it where I'm more centered in the picture, and you could definitely see somebody standing behind me. And we're like, who the heck is standing behind me? Because he kind of looked like he was wearing a hat, like an old Civil War hat or something.
A scarf.
Yeah, and there was nobody with us. We were all sitting in our chairs, but yet there's someone standing behind me over my shoulder. But this was also when I invited somebody to come hang out with us, right? Ruby said she felt something pull her hair up and blow on her lips. So,
Yes. So something was messing with her at the same time. Is this thermal or night vision?
Night vision.
Night vision.
Night vision. But I'd have a better picture of it, a more clear picture of it.
That's the first one I found, so I'm sure
Yeah.
there's another one.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So I'll find that one.
pretty crazy.
Yeah, pretty.
I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah.
Sure.
So even though we are Bigfoot hunters, we're serious, dedicated Bigfoot researchers. Some paranormal stuff does also happen while we're out there. You know, whether it's spirits of Native Americans or if it's a cloaked Bigfoot, we don't know what it is. And we're not looking for paranormal activity. It's just happening. There have been times where even on voice recorders, we've captured EVPs while Bigfooting. One said my name. It's crazy stuff. But like
I didn't even hear that. That was a story I haven't heard of yet.
Oh, yeah.
When did that happen?
We probably have I think there's about 7 EVPs that we've captured in different places. The majority of them are in the Green Swamp. But we heard one in the Everglades. When we went on the first time I ever went to the Everglades, we were walking down the trail down Turner Road. Tim had stopped because he was going to pull out do a deer call. He had a deer call thing. He was just going to play with it to see if we would attract something. So I don't know if I was talking or something, and I kind of hesitated for a moment because I kind of like lost my train of thought. I was trying to think of deer call, and you could hear on the audio, deer call. You could hear them say it before I said it. So that happened in the Everglades. But Marie, it was like, Marie, that was in the Green Swamp. In the Ocala National Forest, when I was with another researcher, we captured someone saying, "Oh, stop it, people." That's really intriguing in the Ocala National Forest because we were looking at stuff and we were excited about things, and you hear "Oh, stop it, people." And it's like, oh my gosh, what the heck is that? We've heard him say poop. We've heard him say, "Dear call, my name. Oh, stop it, people."
This is all with the EVP.
Yeah, all on audio recorders. They
Yeah.
were all
Okay.
captured. Yeah, they're very
Wow.
light. I mean, not like super duper loud, but yeah, you could hear it. You can definitely hear, and it's usually female. It's usually a female type of voice.
That's interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
you never know what we're gonna find out there. One of our acquaintances was out in the green swamp, and you remember Bigfoot Dave? We heard the story
Yep.
about him going out, and it was early in the morning. It was foggy, real foggy, because it gets pretty foggy in Florida sometimes during certain parts of the year. And he's riding his bike, I believe, if I remember correctly, right?
Do you have the picture?
Yeah, yep, I got the picture. It's not real great, but so what was
You want
he?
me?
He was
Me to
hearing
tell the
some
story?
tones, right? Go ahead and you tell it because I think you know it a little bit better than I do.
Yeah. So it was during the week. This was like about 3 months ago. He was riding his electric bike through the green swamp. He got there early one morning, super foggy. I mean, incredibly foggy day. He was by himself and he was just like, I'm just going to take a ride down the trail. Just as, he's a Bigfoot researcher. So he's just doing his thing. And he starts hearing what sounds like bells. And he's like, to him, it sounded like a school bell kind of thing. He's like, there's no school around here. He's in the freaking green swamp. There's no schools out there. And he just kept hearing this bell kind of sound. He heard it like 3 times.
Like a tone, right?
I told him, I said, it was a tone. It wasn't a bell. But to him, if you don't know the difference, you just say it's a bell. But most likely it's a tone. So then he's riding, his bike, and he starts feeling static electricity. And he's like, woof. All the hair stood up on him. He said the air got incredibly charged with a static charge. But it's foggy out, so you shouldn't have that because fog is wet, right? You shouldn't be feeling static electricity in fog. And then he really started getting nervous. And so he took his phone and he started kind of filming, taking pictures as he's riding this bike. He was just taking pictures. So do you have the picture, Chris? Want to show?
Yes, I do.
He captured this on his camera.
So yeah, he didn't see it there, but he went back and looked at the pictures, and
Oh hell no!
you can see this direct outline,
No.
right? And look at the dark
Can you
eyeballs.
zoom in any further? Can you zoom further? Because you can see its eyes.
It won't come any closer.
Yeah, you could see its eyes. It's got
it
big black eyes. And I'm like, Dave, that's an alien, okay?
That's a gray if I've ever seen one, right?
That is a gray, for sure, absolutely.
Oh, no.
He said it was about 4 feet tall because he went back the next day. He found the spot. He was trying to see if that was pareidolia, like a tree or something. And, he did measurements and stuff, and he said it was about 4 feet tall. I'm trying to find a better picture so I can zoom in on the eyes so you can see what this thing looks like. What an amazing photograph. And he didn't even know he had it until he got home and he checked it. But it's just absolutely crazy, but it's awesome. And it scared the daylights out of him. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I tell people, when I go out, I don't go out in the woods by myself anymore. I used to. I don't anymore.
Can you see? Hold on. Let me get the. Whoops.
Here, let me make you bigger here. Let's see here. We'll do this.
Yeah.
And we'll do this. There we go.
Let's see if I can get it. Oops, I can't get it there. See the eyes?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
There's the eyes.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just standing there looking at. He didn't know he caught that.
Yeah,
But
that's crazy.
I see like
No.
arms or something, but
Yeah, that's
is
crazy.
that the craziest thing?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I don't go out in the woods by myself, and if I get nauseated, if I get dizzy,
Mhm.
I'm popping off rounds right away, right into the dirt. I'm cheating. So beware creatures or animals to let you know if I start going sleepy, I'm cheating. So I'm just letting everybody know I'm not going down without a fight. So zapped or infrasound, whatever you want to call it, I have no idea. But yes, I agree, Nicole. That would give me the shivers. I'd probably shite myself, to be honest.
I've been zapped before by something. Again, I was
yeah.
at my friend Debbie's house, but at a different house. And so one night I was in her house. We're watching TV. I used to sit on the couch where I would face their front door. Their front door was all beveled glass. You could see through it. And she has a big family. There was always kids coming in and out of the house, you know. But this was about 11:30 at night. And so I can see the front door. I can see someone little walking up to the door. And they're trying to turn the door knob. They're trying to open the door, but they can't. I'm watching this thing like turning and fiddling. And I'm like, I'm like, why is this kid having a problem opening the door? The door's unlocked. You know, people come in and out all the time at our house. So, and even the neighbor kids. So I told her, I said, Debbie, I think there's a kid outside your door that's trying to get in. So she gets up, she goes outside, no one around. She looks down the street, no one around. If there's a little kid, you're going to see them walking down the sidewalk, right?
Right.
So she's like, yeah, you know, it's no big deal. And I'm just like, that's really odd. What was odd about it was they couldn't open the door. If they were just like turning it, you could see it moving, but they could not possibly open the door, but it was unlocked. So then we're watching TV some more, and all of a sudden the TV freezes up. And I'm like, oh shit. And she's ignoring it. She's on her phone. She's not even giving it a second thought. And I'm like, okay, little person coming up to the door who cannot open the door, even though it's unlocked. They don't know how to turn the knob. The TV freezes. Okay. I decide I'm going to go outside. I want to see if there's something above the house, right? So I walk out the sliding glass doors to her pool, and I just look straight out in the sky, and I'm looking around. I don't see anything. I decide to turn around and look above her house. When I did that, I was zapped by something. I was like, shit. It was like a major static charge. Something zapped me the moment I turned to look above her house, but there was nothing there. And I was like, oh, that was it. I was like, I'm in the house. I was like, nope, not hanging out here, because I got hurt. You know, I was like, I got zapped by something. And
Gargoyles.
Going in the house. So there was 3 things that happened within 2 minutes.
That's weird.
No.
Yeah. So not a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences.
No.
No such thing.
Nope. No. So the thing with the aliens about Dave hearing the bells, you know, frequencies, vibration, you know, high vibration, you know, these aliens, a lot of them are high vibration creatures, you know, and so if you ever play with like the singing bowls and stuff like that, those tones are just amazing, and they use those kind of tones to do C5s to try and draw in the aliens and stuff like that. And I don't know if you know it or not, but each planet gives off a sound, a tone of its own. You can even look that up on YouTube, like the
Never
sound.
heard of
Yeah,
that.
he was actually explaining that as well.
Yeah, you can you can do a search on YouTube, like the sound of Venus. You can hear what the Earth sounds like. You can hear what each planet sounds like in the solar system. It's pretty cool. They've all recorded them from the all the big satellites that the craft, the ships that have gone past these planets. The what do you call it, the Explorer or whatever those missions were.
The Vikings or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. But you could search for that on YouTube. You can hear those tones, what each planet sounds like. It's amazing. So these are high vibration creatures, and we think that they're attracted. They make those kind of sounds, and they're attracted to those kind of sounds. So that's why a lot of people use the singing bowls and things like that when they're trying to do CE5s and trying to get aliens or UFOs to come in to visit them. So, and that's so when Dave said he heard bells, I'm like, that's aliens for sure. So I don't know. Crazy
Wow,
stuff.
that's
Yeah,
crazy.
well, everything's vibrations. I mean, sounds, light. It's all different frequencies. So if we hear sound, we see light, but there's so many other frequencies, and it's literally every bit of it's vibration, just different levels of vibration.
Correct.
All the way from infrasound to high-end speed light, and faster than light even. So.
Yep, it's fascinating stuff, but there's something to it. There's something.
What about Skinwalker? What do you think of Skinwalker?
Oh, I love Skinwalker. I went there last year.
That studio's gonna catch on fire.
And I'm wearing my Skinwalker ranch shirt right now. I have my Skinwalker.
We're not talking about the actual walkers. We're talking about more of the other paranormal stuff that goes on there / UFOs. I mean, what do you think's in the ground there?
Oh, what do I think? I think.
What do you think of this show?
Oh, I love the show, obviously. I went to Phenomenon last year, which is a conference that's held in Vernal, Utah, and that's where Skinwalker Ranch is. So the whole cast is there, along with, Expedition Bigfoot people, blah, blah, blah. And so you can meet, Dr. Travis Taylor, you can meet, Dragon and Eric and Thomas Winterton. You can meet them all. It's a really cool thing. So I got to meet them last year. And I did one of their little side excursions where they'll take you to the gate. That's as far as you can get. And when they took us there, Dr. Travis Taylor was in his red Jeep on the other side of the gate to welcome us, to say hi to us and talk to us and, blah, 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 blah. But it's funny because when I was walking up to the gate, my my right side temple started hurting. And I was like, that's really interesting. Because for me, that's how I detect paranormal things. Like walking into I remember the one time in Tarpon Springs, I was walking into an old train station old depot thing. And I went to walk in another room, and I was getting ready to walk through the doorway, and I stopped because I'm like, whoa, holy crap. The energy was totally different from one room to the next. And I'll feel it either in my right or my left temple. I'll start getting a pain. And it'll just go away. It'll just come real quick just to let me know that I'm sensing something is around. I'm sensing something about the place. So I started feeling that when I was walking up to the gate. And I was like, this is cool. It's cool because they experience all kinds of stuff if you ever watch the show. But I think there's a crash UFO somewhere, whether it's in the mesa or if it's in the ground. That's what I think it is.
That big metal object that they've been trying to drill into that they can't.
Yeah, but now they're saying it's a wormhole, is what they're. I don't know if
Get
you
it.
watched the
Thanks
latest
for spoiler alert.
Sorry.
No, I didn't watch. I haven't watched the last episode, but I did see a little preview of it.
Yeah. But it
Pretty
explains why, like, say they'll see a UFO or something in the sky and it'll just disappear. And Dr. Travis Taylor said that would explain why they disappear, because they're going into the wormhole. And so you need to catch up on it. But
I've only got one episode. But what would the wormhole be moving around though? I mean, how does that work? I mean, it just seems like they show up anywhere. Sometimes they go back behind the mesa. Sometimes they're in the sky and they just disappear out of the sky. So I don't know if that's.
I mean, there could be a wormhole there, but there's something else on the mesa.
Yeah, true.
So I think I'm guessing there's a crash ship in there. That's just what I think about it.
Well, that part where they're like messing around with, it almost looks like somebody dynamited and kind of caved that section in. Mm-hmm. It might have been open at one point in time.
Yeah, because it like they covered something up.
That's what I think.
And there is a place in Arizona, what's it called? Rainbow Valley or something like that. There's some weird little place in Arizona where the military, government, or whatever, they built a dam where there's no water.
Yeah, that's weird.
And so people claim that a UFO had crashed there, like between two, mountains, whatever you want to call them, mesas or whatever. They couldn't get it out, so they had to bury it. So they built a dam, even though there's no water. And they also have a playground. They built a playground with it. It makes no sense.
Test dam with a playground. Well, we're just practicing here. We're not building a real one. We're just,
So what
just trying to figure out how to build a dam. So
why spend millions of dollars to build a dam for nothing?
Rebecca says they built a dam because they heard Grizzly was coming with his holy water.
Yeah, right.
So why they're saying that is that when I moved locations, my parents were helping me unload my SUV, and I heard my parents whisper, and they're like, "Uh-oh, he's got a problem." And I was like, "What?" And I turned around, and they had all these wine bottles, and I didn't think nothing of it. And they're like, "We need to talk." And I'm like, "What are y'all talking about?" They're like, you got a problem. I'm like, yeah, no joke. I know that, right?
No joke.
And I'm like, they're like, no, it's okay. If you got a drinking problem. I'm like, what? What are y'all talking about? And they're holding all these wine bottles and they're pulling them out of the back seat. And I got them all covered up. I drove like 70 something miles. I didn't want to get caught with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? They're holding them up. I'm like, you know what that is? I'm like, open it up and smell it. They're like, it's okay. I'm like, Mom, Dad. I'm like, open it up and smell it. It smells like bleach water. They're not wine. And they're like, it's okay. We can talk about it. I'm like, open it up. And they're like, my mom's like, she's like, Mike, it does smell like bleach water. I'm like, it's holy water. That's where I get it from the church.
Wow, you fill up wine bottles of holy water?
Yeah, that's how I get it from the church, is from wine bottles. Yes.
Wow.
So, and I was afraid to transport all these wine bottles. I didn't want these a-hole cops I get pulled over, right? And here I am with this badge, be like, you got open containers, huh? I'm like, yeah, it's holy water. Yeah, we heard that one before.
For my haunted balls.
Yeah, but because of COVID, they had to put bleach in with the holy water in the sanctuary because of COVID. So that's why I tell people when they get my holy water in the white bottles, do not put it in people's food or drinks, because people actually get sick. And they're like, oh my God, they are possessed, because they vomit and crap all over themselves because they're drinking bleach water. Yes.
Wow.
So that's why they're in white bottles. They're not in colored bottles or whatever. So yeah. So that's why I tell people.
Wow.
So that's why you see them, talk about holy water, super soakers, and all that other stuff. They're making fun of me. So yeah.
That's so funny. That's good.
Well, it is now, but it wasn't at the time, because they really thought I was alcoholic. So,
like I said, that's pretty major, Grizz. I mean, to have holy water in wine bottles, that's a lot of holy.
He ain't messing around. He comes loaded.
No. He's already wasted half a bottle on me on this show, so
Paranormal prepper.
That's right, man. I got crucifixes everywhere and everything. I got these dolls. Oh man, they're awful.
Get rid of the dolls. Go donate it.
I got to do something. I'm getting ready to do a cleansing.
And things. Unless you enjoy it, and like having them as part of your show, then you keep them. But otherwise,
I don't know. I'm rethinking about all that stuff. So
didn't they jump down like 3 of them at one time on the same show?
They were like committing suicide. They were like jumping off a skyscraper while I was doing the show and landing on my keyboard. Mm-hmm. I mean, they were scaring the hell out of me. Mm-hmm. And people were like, "What was that?" I'm like, "Somebody just committed suicide." They're like trying to get, they wanted attention, and it's just like they were just like one after another, just like, "Well, here I'm coming, watch me die." So, and I mean, I would be throwing holy water everywhere. I mean, I would shut down my live feeds and that, holy water with the bleach water in there, and they leave spots on all of my monitors. So then I had to go back and clean them all. It was awful.
I think there's an island in Mexico, is it? The Island of the Dolls?
Oh, yeah. Island of the Dolls, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Swapping the dolls' outfits. No, I'm not touching the outfits. Some of these outfits are handmade.
A bunch of people have investigated the Island of the Dolls. Even Josh Gates. He even, I think he
didn't like it.
There. Oh, yeah. It was very freaky because things were happening, like they were, like blinking, or they were saying things just like what you said, or they're moving. And yeah, that's a creepy place. Mm-hmm. Island of the Dolls. Yeah. And you can only get there by boat. So that's
right. Yeah.
Grizzly, you were doing something the other night, or I think a couple weeks ago, maybe, where you were recording them. It looked like you had them sitting there by your computer, and you had some of the meters out, and you're recording. What happened? Did like turn your phone off or something?
Oh, so on the back of my phone, there's a tab here, right? And the tab, look how hard it is to close it, right? Now, if you hear it,
well, I think it snaps closed.
It snaps, right? So I'm filming it, and it goes black, and I'm like, "What the hell?" And I'm like, "Damn!" And you can still hear me, but you can't see anything. So I stop the recording, and I start the recording, and I'm like, "It's still black," and I'm like, "What's going on?" And so I stop the recording, and I'm like, "Oh, the hell, you did not fry my damn iPhone 14 Pro Max." I'm like, you fried my damn phone. I'm mad now. So I turned it around, and it closed it. And I'm like, no, there ain't no way. So I went back and watched it, and it did. It went scoop, and it didn't even click. And I tried to duplicate it, and there's no way. Because listen, and it's still not even open.
Yeah.
And it takes force to even open it. now it's open. You heard it click.
Yeah.
So now that freaked me out. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Chris. Thanks for spooking me again right before the end of the show. I got to sleep and remember that now.
One time, Debbie and I were in Savannah. We were staying at some, I don't know. I forgot, like Homewood Suites or something like that, some hotel outside of Savannah. And something was playing games on her phone by itself. It was just sitting on the bed, and something turned on her phone and started playing games automatically. And we're just watching. We're like, oh my God, Kate, are you watching this? And yeah, just playing a game. Something.
We've had weird things out in the woods that happen with phones. It's happened to me. Mine turned on. I mean, I keep mine in the pocket, but it's got a passcode and everything. So if you turn it on, and I've had it where it opened up, turned on, and had Google Assistant started talking to me. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Because mine's not a voice activated one. Like some of them, you have it where even on you got your screen off and you can voice activate. Mine's not activated like that.
Yeah,
mine came on one time. Ruby had an experience one time, and I know Marie's had.
I had the best. I had the best one.
Yeah, hers was a little weird.
Yeah, mine's really weird. Again, like Chris said, password protected phone. I don't have the talk feature or anything. So we're out in the woods, and I find a X structure. Two big sticks that are like crossed like this. So I was walking up to it, and I hear, hello, hello, hello. And I'm like, what is that? And I pull out my phone. My phone called one of my ex-boyfriends when I was standing in front of an X structure.
Oh, wow.
That happened twice in two different spots on 2 different days.
2 different exes.
Wow.
And 2 different ex-boyfriends. Same thing.
Wow.
Happened twice, and we captured it on video. Then I'm walking up to it, and I'm like, what? And I'm pulling out my phone. I'm like, hello? And they're like, I'm like, did you call me? And they're like, no. So it happened twice, 2 different times. 2 different days, 2 different X structures, 2 different ex-boyfriends, the exact same thing happened. Can't explain that.
That's crazy.
What is
what
that?
was it? What was the thing that happened to Ruby? She was talking about something about birds or something.
Oh, she was talking about a bird app. That that was the first time I heard that story. Was when she told it yesterday.
Oh, really? She's told it before. I think she was mentioning something like it would be cool if there was a bird app that, if you heard birds and you could record it, it would identify the bird, something along that lines. And the next day, she got charges on her card, and they were like a fraudulent charge popped up, and she had to figure out what was going on, and went back, and it happened to be an Amazon app, but she's never even heard of, for bird song identification. Like something opened her phone and tried to buy an app for her while we're out in the middle of the woods. I mean, that's really weird. I mean, it's either that or Amazon and Google trying to take too much control, but
yeah, my phone
still
is
odd.
Pulled up and played weather.com videos. I never watch weather.com videos, or it plays weird ringtones by itself. I don't even have these ringtones on my phone, and it'll just start playing a ringtone for no reason while we're out there. So, that's why I say that they all have similarities: ghosts, UFOs, aliens, and Bigfoot. There's just stuff happens that's in common, because you get that same experience with ghosts, talking to your phone, playing big games with your phone, and stuff happening while we're out there in the woods. We can't explain what any of that is. It's fascinating, but We don't know.
That ain't fascinating. Maybe to you it is.
It's fascinating to me, Chris. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe not to you, but
I'm,
to me.
I'm
Yes.
gonna rub some anointment oil on my forehead before I go to bed now.
Maybe some more with holy water.
Marie, he was
That's
out
right.
taking the trash out the other night and heard some whistling and
Yeah,
scared the
I
hell
know,
out of
right?
him.
1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. I, walking down the driveway, limping and opening up the garbage can. I heard a whistle, and it was like between two birds, with one whistle, and I'm like, and then I heard a response behind the house, and I'm like, and I was like, oh hell with that! I went back in the house as fast as I could. I was like, nope, nope, and I know they were laughing. I was like, nope. No.
How do you know they were laughing at you, Chris?
Oh yeah, they're like, watch this. You want to see how fast this buck can run?
Yeah, see how fast this guy can run. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's their entertainment.
Because the driveway is real long, and because I live on a dead end street, and there's the house at the edge of the driveway is probably, it's not that far, but behind the house is a big field which goes into the woods. Then behind my house is a set of woods. So we're talking maybe 60 yards was the first whistle, and then less than 50 yards or 60 yards was the second. And the second whistle was even louder than the first whistle. So, and it was like, I was like, oh, hell no. And it was dead quiet too. Dead quiet. I was like, nope. I'm out of here.
Where do you live?
Yeah.
Kentucky? You live in Kentucky?
Yeah, northern Kentucky.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're in prime Bigfoot area.
Bigfoot land.
Bigfoot land.
That's the number one state for sightings, isn't it? Kentucky?
Oh, Washington.
No, it's up there.
Maybe it's number two.
Yeah,
I was pretty sure it was pretty far up there.
Number 2 is California.
Yeah,
well, that's such a big state.
I've actually got tracks at the park.
Nice.
When I was trying to play disc golf, I didn't know the numbers on the disc meant you throw it and it goes different directions. And through one, I was like, "What the hell?" And it went way off track. I'm like, "Damn!" I was like, "I'm not losing this damn thing." So I had to go way off track. And I went down, and it's next to this big lake in the park, and the park's in the woods. And I went down there, and I had to walk up this big hill, and I was walking up. I'm like, that is not what it looks like. And I kept walking, and I was like, there's another one. I was like, what the hell? So I pulled out my cell phone, and somebody was really like, what are you doing? I'm like, somebody's texting me about a show. I'm trying to get a picture and a measurement. I'm like, this is not what it seems like. There's no way. This is like 8:30 in the morning. There's joggers, there's people playing disc golf, there's runners, there's 3 different courses. The high school's right down the street. And so I snap a photograph, and they're like, hurry up. I'm like, oh. So I send this picture out to people, and they're like, you know what you got? I'm like, what is it? I'm thinking pareidolia. And they're like, you got a juvenile. I'm like, juvenile? I'm like, dude, what? I'm like, I'm looking at the big one. Yeah. They're like, no, you got a little one next to the big one. I'm like, you got to be joking. And they send the picture back to me. I didn't even know about the little one. So I got them walking up the hill. So, and what's weird though is the hill was dry, and you can see where they walked. And they left the impression, and when they walked, they left the dirt coming down. You know how they do the toes and scoot the dirt?
Yeah. I
got that in the pictures.
Right.
And I didn't want to believe it myself, because I was like, there's no way. I mean, this is in the middle of the park. Everybody's out here. So, so I was like shocked. So I told Chris, I don't go in the woods. After I saw that video of them cloaking and everybody's like, all these Cherokee Indians, don't go in the woods. OCO. Oh, OCO my ass.
OCO.
Oh, the hell with that.
OCO means what? High? What does that mean? High?
What's your name? Yeah, what's your name? And they respond back, no.
No.
Oh, no. Oh, hell with that. Yeah.
I was out in the woods.
Now, all these.
and I heard someone say, "Hey," and that's more. There's other Bigfoot researchers who have heard that also. Ruby and I heard it when we were in the Green Swamp. We heard, "Hey," and we're like,
Sup?
"Where'd
Hey,
that come from?" There's nobody around, but we heard someone say, "Hey," to us. So.
Yeah, no.
mm,
No. But I used to go, out in the woods all the time, deer hunting, squirrel hunting, when we're on mushroom hunting. I used to do all that all the time. I used to go out in the woods in the golf course, and I used to mess with the golfers all the time. When they hit the golf balls, I used to run out there and get the golf balls and put them in the hose. They'd be like, "What the hell? That was a hole in one. I didn't know that's what you said, George. I didn't know that." Or I would steal their golf balls and be like, and they would look, and where'd that golf ball go to? And I'd be in the woods, camo, and be laughing my butt off, and they'd be looking all around for the balls, then I would have them, and I'd be hiding in the bushes.
Karma.
But I mean, I can't believe I'm ratting on myself. But anyways, yeah.
No wonder.
So, I mean, I couldn't tell you how many times, I was telling Chris before on other shows, my dad and I used to go deer hunting all the time. And my dad would be like, "You smell that, son?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "We just missed the deer." Bull crap, Dad. That is not deer now. I know what that is. I know what that smell. That is not deer, Dad.
Nope, not deer.
No, That's not what we just missed.
That's hilarious.
So, yeah, no. So now, all the stuff that, the tree bends, the structures, all that. I didn't know what all that was. I never paid attention to that stuff years ago when I was growing up.
Nope.
You just walk right past it.
Most people don't. But once you get into the Bigfoot phenomena, then you start noticing weird things out there, and there are weird things out there. We have found our share.
we find them all the time.
Yeah, look at that. Wait till you go out at night and they throw cat balls at them. So I thought about doing that, right? Duct tape or taping cat balls to trees and stuff. But my luck, I'd be out there and seeing all these little lights just like walking across the field. That would flip me out. No, I couldn't deal with that. So because I heard Bigfoot loves glow in the dark balls. And they get mad when I quit working.
Anything flashy.
It's keep it out of the there.
Yes.
Some people say they like blue rocks, marbles. I would say anything flashy or sparkly. Because it's, it's curious to them, right? If you get a nice crystal, for instance, even if you have a nice faceted crystal, it's going to reflect some sun really good, really well. And things like that. Something they could play with, that they would experiment with, look at, they would take, and maybe.
Well, we know they don't know what to do with Mardi Gras beads, don't we, Chris? Because Barb says they don't know what to do with them yet. She has them hang up and hang. Chris, you're awful.
No comment.
Never know.
But we do get reports when the balls quit flashing, the ghost balls or cat balls, we're going to call them, they get mad. Either they throw them at the houses or they bring them back and they're smashed or whatnot. So, yeah.
Wow.
You got the ladies in the chat room all roused up all the ball talk.
I know.
Cat balls, ladies. Yeah. Cat balls.
Cat balls. Whatever they're called. I bought mine from a paranormal store, one of those paranormal shops. I bought a set of 3, I think. So.
Have you actually had those things work? Those things really work. I mean, do they? I've never had them, so nor do I ever plan on it.
I've only used them really once, and that was that night when we were in the Green Swamp, when we had the stick thrown at us. One of the lights went on, and but could it be a bug? Could the ground have been a little not level and it just moved a little bit and it set it off? I don't know. I need to experiment with them a little bit more. But they're cool things because you can visually see when something's happened.
Yeah, they super duper sensitive, and the slightest movement sets them off, or
yeah, well, yeah, kind
or
of.
can they be glitchy and sometimes just go crazy on their own, or
Not
that's what I always wondered.
normally, but because once you turn them on, then you just put them down, and
Right.
if they get moved, they'll turn on. But
Gotcha.
depending
Now I
on
had to get the
ground,
ones with the recessed buttons that are inside.
Correct.
And the reason why is the ones that I had with the buttons that protruded.
Yeah.
The damn ones in the studio would click them and turn them
Oh,
off during the
cool.
live shows.
Nice.
If you would hear them, you hear them go click, because I would tape them to the mic stand. So then
That's
you would
cool.
hear them during, we would talk, and then you hear a click, and I'm like, oh, what was that? And I would go, they turned the damn thing off. So I had to buy the ones where you couldn't click them. You had to actually push them in.
That's what I have. I have the same ones you do.
Yeah. So, but now what's really weird is you're sitting there doing a show and they're all turned off, and you'll be talking, having a good time, and one just turns on by itself. And that freaks me out. Yeah. So that kind of like freaks me out a bit. But,
especially depending on the topics you get into. I'm sure it has something to do with it.
He is an instigator.
No, that was Barb that started that shit last time, so don't even bring it to me.
You know, when the studio crashed and stuff, I don't know what was going on that one. So
I love your desk moving. That was my favorite one.
Oh, that was wild. Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
So
pretty amazing.
That was crazy. So, like I said, when we get off this show, I'm going to do another cleansing and stuff. And
pull out another wine bottle.
Why do y'all laugh? It's not funny.
Because you're just gonna, it's just another excuse to pull out a wine bottle. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go with the wine bottle. So, but yeah, but I'm glad.
You talk to your parents.
Yeah, right.
That's hilarious.
They really had to sniff it though. That was like embarrassing.
I know.
You know, sniff the damn bottle to trust me.
Right. That's
so
it's okay, Grizz.
I'm glad
you got a problem. Just admit
take a sip of it, because that would have been awful.
Yeah, right.
So, right? Yeah. But I'm glad you came on the show and was a guest. That was awesome. I never knew all that stuff.
Oh, thank you. I have so many stories. Yeah.
Yeah, Chris said you did. I was like, what? So
yeah, there's stuff that I can't remember, and some stuff I didn't even tell you. So there's all kinds of stuff.
Hey, there's always round two. So that's for sure.
Yeah, I figured we'd bring out a different side of Marie tonight. So
yeah, right.
It's fun.
Yeah, you only see the Bigfoot side, Chris. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So it's good to talk about the paranormal too, because I've experienced it all.
And again, it all seems to be tied together somehow or another, right?
It is. I do believe it is. I do. I really do.
Yeah. So it's fun.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
Yeah, I do. And thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
I really enjoyed it.
Yes.
And ladies and gentlemen, from coast to coast and around the world, that's a wrap. We'll catch you on the next show. Everybody, y'all have a good night. Take care. Bye-bye.
Night.
Night.